Hey guys, it's Rojo Inc. and today we're going to be talking about the top decks to play in the Set 7 Archazia Island Set Championships for Disney Lorcana. This past weekend was the first weekend for the event, and it seems that in my area, it was almost every single store was holding it this weekend, particularly because this upcoming weekend is going to be Mother's Day here in the United States. So that's probably why uh, all of them held it the first weekend, but we still have Mother's Day weekend and two more weekends after that. So hopefully we'll get some more events coming up. But just to recap how it went for me, I'll talk about the decks that I used. But I went to two set championships and I was able to secure my promo in both of them. And on top of that, my little brother also secured his promo. Um, so yeah, basically, the first event I played and I made it to the finals. Unfortunately, I did not get to play Matt. I did lose to my worst matchup. And then in the second event, I made it a top cut with a different deck. I made it a top 8 and I got my promo. And again, with that one, I played against my worst matchup. Now, for the second event, that one was in a store where I had never gone before. So this was my first time. I had no information about the meta at that store. But in my local store, I knew that the meta was going to be more aggro. So I did make my deck or select my deck based off of that information. But let's go ahead and get right on into this and get into our first deck. We will be covering a total of like 12 decks or so. And we're going to try to hit on most color combinations, or at least cover on combinations that include one of all 6 colors. But if there is a deck that I failed to mention, please be sure to leave it down below in the comments for other people to see. And yeah, because this is basically going off of my knowledge of the game and decks that I saw perform pretty well this past weekend. So let's go ahead and get right on into it. All right, so the first deck that we're going to talk about is going to be Amber Amethyst Aggro, and specifically a hyper aggro version of this. If you anticipate that your set champs is going to have a lot of more control-based decks, such as red-blue and potentially red-purple, I would highly recommend that you go with an aggro deck. Basically, you can go ahead and flood the board, go wide as early as possible before the opponent is able to set up their board, because when it comes to red-blue in particular, those decks tend to take about 4 to 5 turns to start ramping up and then finally getting characters out on the board to attack your characters. If you're able to get a high lore advantage on them ahead of time, then it will be difficult for them to come back and use their Pirate's Life and Maui Shark to cycle it back. It'll be hard for them to come back. But if you're able to go wide fast, then you should have a solid chance of winning the game. Now, this particular list is the one that my brother used at our set champs. And it is really, really focused on just gaining lore, and you avoid making interactions with your opponent. You just focus on doing your own thing. So turn 1, you're gonna drop something like a Daisy Duck, or like either a Daisy Duck or a Maleficent. Daisy Duck would be the preferred play. This is particular to going against Ruby Sapphire, because Daisy Duck allows you, if you're unfamiliar with the effect, any time that you quest with this character, your opponent reveals the top card of their deck. If it's a character, they can add it to hand. Otherwise, it gets sent to the bottom of their deck. So it's really good for getting rid of songs, getting rid of stuff such as B Prep, Pirate's Life, items, ramp cards, all those cards that help these decks basically control, ramp, whatever it is that they do. It sends them all to the bottom. So Daisy Duck is going to be one of the best cards to play on turn 1. Turn 2, you have multiple options. You could either do 2 1-drops, or for your 2-drops, you have Lilo, Piglet, Honeymarin, and Pinocchio. Now, Lilo, Piglet, and Pinocchio are going to be your best bets in most matchups. They quest for quite a bit. Piglet, if you have multiple characters, if you have 2 or more characters, they quest for 3 as opposed to 1. Lilo can be cycled back into your deck So if there's a board wipe or this character gets banished, you can just get them back from your discard at the start of your turn before you draw, pay the cost, play them exerted, but basically it forces your opponent to have to keep dealing with this character. Piglet, like I said, you have multiple other characters, you're able to quest for more. Pinocchio, pretty straightforward. It's a 2-cost 1/1, but it quests for 3 every single turn. Honey Marin, if your opponent has an exerted character, you can play them. Now, all the rest of these cards in this deck are focused more on just gaining lore on play or giving other characters a specific amount of lore so they could quest for more. So that's what Chip and Donald do, which is on play. You choose one of your other characters, they get +1 lore. So for example, if you pick your Pinocchio, you quest for 4 that turn. Baloo is a bodyguard, but when they're banished, you gain 2 lore. So one thing that I saw some people do, because there were multiple of this deck at my first set champs, was they would play Baloo and then they'd attack into some other character if they're missing 2 lore or something. That way their own Baloo is banished and then they get that 2 lore that they're missing. Other cards, Madame Mim, perfect for bouncing cards such as the White Rose and Merlin, but also cards such as Chip and Donald. And then one card that really helps out in this deck is Gathering Knowledge and Wisdom. Straightforward, 2-cost uninkable, gain 2 lore. We do have a little bit of card draw in this deck, not so much, but we have Chernadog, Magic Broom, but on top of that, we do have 2 Friends on the other side and 2 Amethyst Chromacon. Now, in the set champs where my brother played this, he made it to the quarterfinals and played against a red-blue deck. And then that's when he lost. The red-blue was first seed, so he was able to... he made it not quarterfinals. I believe he made it to the... Was it top 8? Or was it quarterfinals? I can't remember. But basically, it was red-blue. They had first seed, so they were able to go first both times, and they had the perfect draws to just be able to control this this deck. But yeah, anyways, let's get on into our second deck. Up next, we have a deck that won the Ravensburger event, which is Chernadogs. So this is a deck by Joel, and it is also a pretty fast deck. It goes wide pretty fast, and there's a lot of cards to be able to respond to your opponent. So for your 1-drops, you have Daisy Duck, Nala, Chris Merfolk, Lady, and Little John. The ideal plays in this situation obviously vary depending on what you're going for, but ideally you'd either want to play a Daisy Duck, a Chris Merfolk, or a Lady. The reason why you'd want to play Lady is because on turn 2 you can get a Tramp character and your Lady will quest for 2 as opposed to questing for 1. Now for turn 2 we have a couple options. Depending which line you decided to go on turn 1, your options are Lilo, Piglet. I would ignore playing Go-Go unless you really have to. That's more of a later card for this deck. You also have Tramp, Ursula if you expect your opponent to have songs or especially in critical situations later on in the game, you could also play Ursula. For example, if you're expecting a B prep on your opponent's next turn, play Ursula. If it's there, perfect, you get rid of a B prep. You also have Yzma if you have to look at one more card from your deck, basically to find a turn 3 play or something else. That's a perfect card to play. Moving on, for our 3-drops, we have Donald, Kit, and Prince Philip. Again, we already went over Donald, but in the previous list, Kit, Cloud Kicker. Basically, you can play it, bounce the character with 2 strength or less back to their player's hand. Perfect for getting rid of cards such as Cinderella in a Songs deck, and possibly other low-cost, low-strength characters. Prince Philip, pretty good. He has Ward and Quest for 2. So basically your opponent cannot target them with actions. So it's really good into decks such as Steel Song, where a lot of the actions there are based on targeting specific characters. Turn 4, we do have Rapunzel, so perfect for any of your characters that get damaged. This pairs perfectly with cards such as Daisy Duck, Nala, and Little John. Basically, they can take up to 3 damage without being banished, and then you could play Rapunzel, draw up to 3 cards, which is perfect. But another card, depending on how many characters you have on the board at that time, is Tramp, which has the effect, for each character you have in play, you pay 1 ink less to play this character. And it has a second effect. When you play this character, you may draw a card for each other character you have in play, then choose and discard that many cards. So really good for searching through a lot of your deck, finding all the answers you need, getting rid of what else it is you don't need. Moving on to our turn 5 plays, we do have Lady. We are able to shift onto the 1-drop by turn 3. So that is an option. It's a 5-cost uninkable 4/4 Quest for 2. Has the effect Something Wonderful. When you play this character, you may return up to 2 character cards with cost 2 or less each from your discard to your hand. So good for getting cards such as Go-Go, Donald Duck, Piglet, and other cards that have a pretty significant impact on the board. You're able to get them back to your hand. We also have Cricky. If you really need to make an interaction with your opponent, such as challenging them, basically just challenging them and getting rid of some threats, Cricky is a perfect play. It's a 5-cost 3/4 Quest for 3, but it has the ability Spreading Good Fortune. When you play this character, your other characters get +3 strength this turn. Really good for increasing your character's strength and being able to get rid of some of those big threats. Now, this is where the interesting part of this deck comes in, which is Chernadog. It's a really crazy card. 10 cost, uninkable, 9/9. However, it has the ability for each character card in your discard, you pay 1 ink less to play this character. So a lot of your characters here are low-cost characters, but on top of that, this pairs perfectly with Tramp. If you have a white board and you discard a lot of cards, you're able to play Chernadog possibly the next turn for very cheap. So yeah, Quest for 3. And also, when you play this character, you shuffle all characters in your discard back into your deck. And that's perfect because this deck is only discard or only character cards. So everything gets shuffled back in. Really good card. And that's really what wraps up this deck, because you have a really strong card that's hard to get rid in a challenge. Basically, it has to be a targeted removal or stuff such as B-Prep in order to get rid of this character. All right, going into Amber Steel Songs, we have 2 lists for this. One of them is really focused on allies because of the new Miss Bianca card. The other one is going to be a more traditional list that uses some of the songs or the list that we've seen in previous sets. But going into the first list, we have a total of 12 1-drops. So ideally, depending on your matchup, you're going to want to play Cinderella or Daisy Duck, or the Queen if you do have the Shift Queen in hand. The reason why is you can play the Queen on turn 1, turn 2, shift the Queen, and sing Whole New World right away. The reason why is your opponent, the whole point of a mulligan is to get rid of cards you don't want and try to get your optimal hand. If you're able to disrupt that, and specifically into decks such as Ruby, Sapphire, which really depend on their ramp, you're able to get rid of all of that and hopefully stall them out and be able to win the game. Into more aggro lists, you'd probably want to go Daisy Duck. That way, you can just quest out for quite a bit and then be able to hit the 20 mark before your opponent can really do anything. For our turn 2 plays, like I said, we do have the Shift Queen, but we also have the Troubadour, which is a 1/3 Singer 4 and has resist +1. We also have Mr. Smee. For our turn threes, we have quite a few. We have Ariel to be able to look for a song and has that Singer 5 ability. But another Singer 5 option that we have is Gaston. Now, the benefit of this one is it's a 3-3, so it can't be targeted by the big Sisu. So it's a bit more resistant to that, but you do sacrifice the effect of looking for songs. We also have Lawrence, which is a 0-4, but while it has no damage, it's a 4-4 and a quest for 2. Of course, we have Pete. It's in every steel deck for the most part. We have Rapunzel, which is really good for drawing cards. Pairs perfectly with Daisy Duck. You can take up to 3 damage, and then you can play Rapunzel, heal up to 3 damage, and draw that number of cards. We have one little interesting card that has been seeing a lot more play recently, which is Ariel Sonic Warrior. It's a shift target for the little Ariel. And then whenever you play a song, you may pay 2 ink to deal 3 damage to chosen character. So just to give you an example, you can have one of your other characters sing Let the Storm Rage On, deal 2 damage. Then you pay 2 ink, deal another 3 damage, dealing a total of 5 damage to a character. Really, really strong effect, and definitely worth checking out. Now, let's do a quick count of this deck. We're looking for allies. So we have Daisy Duck, so we have 4 copies here, 4 Troubadours, 4 Smees, 2 Lawrences, and I believe that's it. So we have 1, 2, 3, 12, 14. We have 14 allies for Miss Bianca. It's a 6 cost, but if you have an ally character in play, you pay 2 ink less to play this card. So you can play it for 4 instead of paying the 6. For our songs, we have 2 copies of World's Greatest Criminal Mind, 4 copies of Let the Storm Rage On, 4 copies of Strength of a Raging Fire, 3 copies of And Then Along Came Zeus, and then 4 copies of A Whole New World. Let's go ahead and get on into the other Steel Song list. All right, for our other Steel Song list, it's going to be a little bit different. The shift target that we went for in this is going to be Robin Hood. This is going to be, in my opinion, better into a Steel matchup. I feel that Steel counteracts Steel. But here, instead of running 12 1-drops, we are running 11. So we cut one of the Daisy Ducks just to be able to fit in a few extra cards. But for our 2-drops, we are running 4 copies of Lilo. So really good for the Ruby Sapphire matchup. You're able to, just keep cycling them out. If they play Be Prepared or if they remove it, you're able to play this Lilo out to just keep having a target for your opponents to have to deal with. Instead of running Troubadour, we are running Ursula Vanessa. The reason why is this card pairs better with Rapunzel. This card can take up to 3 damage, and then you could heal it, as opposed to the Troubadour, which has 3 health. So it cannot really take 3 damage. At most, you'd be drawing 2 cards with it. But here, you'd be running Ursula. That way you can draw 3 cards with it. We also have Mr. Smee, Ariel. Here we have 3 Lawrences. So again, to be able to counteract Steel a bit more. We have 4 Petes, 4 Rapunzels. We have 4 copies of the Robin Hood. We are still running one copy of that Ariel Sonic Warrior. But we are also running 1 copy of Cinderella Stouthearted. So you are able to shift onto your little Cinderella. But it is a 5/5 resist to quest for 3. And also, whenever you play a song, this character may challenge ready characters this turn. Really good for challenging possibly some characters that were just played and you don't want them to be able to use them next turn. Or challenging characters that your opponent doesn't want to exert. A good example being the Muses. Our songs here are basically the same thing. Again, we have 2 World's Greatest, 4 Storms, 4 Strength, 3 Zeuses, and 4 A Whole New Worlds. Moving away from Amber, we are going to be stepping into Beauty and the Bird, otherwise known as Blurple. This deck has been seen to be pretty strong this set, and this list in particular is one that stood out to me a lot in a locals event that I saw a couple weeks ago. Starting off, we have our ramp. which is Tipo and Sail the Azurite Sea. So turn 1, ideally, you'd look for Popsicle and possibly banishing Popsicle to play Bell. Turn 2, you really only have 2 options, which is ramping. So either play Tipo if you have quite a few Uninkables in your hand, or Sail the Azurite Sea if you have quite a few Inkables in your hand. And Sail also gives you a draw. And if you do ink that second time that turn, you do have 1 spare ink. So if you have another Popsicle in hand, perfect to play that, get some more draw going. Turn 3, we have a few options. We have Madam Mim and Bell. You could hard cast Bell, but Madam Mim is perfect for bouncing any characters from your hand, but we will get into that a little bit later. Now, one big thing about Amethyst is drawing. So you have Genie, you have Finders Keepers, you have Friends on the other side. Basically, early on, you want to draw as much as possible. That way you have a lot of options to work with later on. You also have Iago, which is an evasive 4/6, but it does have the ability Vanish, so be careful with that. If it is targeted with an action, then it's immediately banished. Now, we do have a few other cards here, such as Merlin, so you can pair that with Madam Mim, get some bounce going, especially in the later rounds or later turns. If you need to get just a couple extra lore to win the game, perfect to play Merlin, bounce, and then if you still have extra ink, play it again. Moving on to some more removal, we have Belle and Elsa. So Elsa is perfect for exerting an opposing character and then challenging right away. I have seen some other lists with this deck that do run the Peter Pan, which gives all of your evasive characters rush. And I think a good tech as well, depending on what the meta is going to be at the locals or the set championships, is a Crab and potentially Library. But really, Crab, I believe, is very important because you can play Crab, or if you have a lot of ink, play both Elsa and Crab, and then be able to swing for 5 immediately after resting or exerting an opposing character. Belle has an on-play effect where when you play them, you can move 3 damage from one character to an opposing character. So you could remove off of one of your characters, which would heal them, or if you have 1 damage character on the opponent's side and probably 1 character that doesn't have damage, or you want to finish off another character, you could just move it between those 2 and easily deal with that threat. Another benefit of this card is it does have shift, so you can shift onto the 3 cost spell. So you could get this out as early as turn 3, depending when you play the 3 cost spell. Some more card draw that we have here, or more searching through the deck, is the 6 cost Uninkable Gaston from Rise of the Floodborn. It's a 4/4 quest for 3, but it does have the ability, when you play this character, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, you may put 1 into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. So really good for searching through your deck, getting rid of what you don't need immediately, and taking what answers you need in that turn. Also, we have Tamatoa to be able to cycle your Popsicles back into your hand from your discard and be able to play them again. You could use this effect to play it for free. But one very important card in this deck is Hades. And this pairs perfectly with Madam Mim, especially for decks such as Ruby Sapphire, where they play some threatening cards such as Shark, their own Tamatoas, or other big cost characters such as Sisu. Perfect for getting rid of them, sending it to their inkwall. That way they can't even get it back unless they run something like Mufasa, or if it's a deck that runs Ink Geyser, they're able to get that back. Moving on, we have the second place list from the Lucky Llama Show Smackdown by Mo. Now, this is a Emerald Amethyst bounce, it looks like. So we have the Madam M Fox, and we have the entire Merlin package. We're running Merlin Crab, Merlin Goat, and Merlin Rabbit. And then for our 1-drops, we're really focusing on 2 things. The first one is going to be drawing, which is our Chernabogs and Diablos. But on top of that, we have Clarabelle, which can later on shift into the bigger Clarabelle. And also, one thing to know about Clarabelle is she does have the effect when you play this character, you may pay 2 ink to banish chosen item. So perfect for getting rid of some stuff such as a fishbone quill or other items that your opponent may be playing. One tech that I have seen in some Ruby decks is Fishhook, Maui's Fishhook, which has 2 potential effects, which is giving a character evasive until the start of your next turn, or giving a character +3 strength during that turn. Now, some other cards that we have in here, we do have the 2-cost Ursula that discards an opposing song. But on top of that, we do have the big Amethyst Ursula, the shift target, or the shift line, which is a 4/7 quest for 3. Has the ability, whenever this character quests, exert chosen character. So kind of works like an Elsa, but every time that they quest. And having that 7 willpower makes her a threat to deal with. But on top of that, other characters can't exert to sing songs. So she can exert to sing songs, but anybody else that tries to sing a song they're not able to, that player has to hard cast the song until Ursula is gone from the board. One also interesting card is Lyle Tiberius Rourke, which has the ability when you play this character, chosen opposing character gains Reckless during their next turn, meaning they cannot quest and they must challenge if able. And also, the second effect, whenever one of your other characters is banished, each opponent loses 1 lore. One thing to note with that is that this is in any turn, so it doesn't matter if it's your turn or the opposing turn. If you wanted to just smack one of your own characters, which is perfect for like a Diablo, you can draw a card, but on top of that, your opponent loses a lore. We also have Mother Knows Best, which is good for bouncing characters back to the opposing or to the player's hand. We also have the library, which pairs perfectly with Chernadog's Followers and Diablo, and Rabbit as well. It really pairs well with anything, but it's really good for those cards. Basically, it's a location, gains you 1 lore at the start of every turn, but on top of that, whenever a character is banished while in the library, you draw a card. So, for example, if you have Diablo there and it gets banished, you draw 2 cards. Or if you have Chernadog's in that location you quest, you can use its effect to banish it, draw 2 cards instead of 1. Merlin Rabbit, if it's banished there, you draw 2 cards. Moving on, we have a total of 3 Amethyst Steel decks. The first one is the Zan Syed list that won the Lucky Llama Smackdown. Sorry, I don't know why I keep saying Showdown. But this is a Jafar Wheel deck. Now, I think that this is really cool. It's a really interesting deck, and people did not expect to see it coming. But it is really interesting. We have some shift lines in here. But the main goal of this deck is using the Legendary / Enchanted Jafar, depending which one you're using, to sing A Whole New World and gain lore from that. This Jafar, whenever this character is exerted, when it's exerted during your turn, you gain 1 lore for each card you draw. So this pairs perfectly with characters such as Diablo, Chernadog, Genie, Friends on the Other Side, specifically A Whole New World, and then you have the item The Lamp, which has 2 effects. If you have a Genie, you're able to return a character with cost 4 or less to a player's hand. But if you have a Jafar, you draw 2 cards, which pairs perfectly with that big Jafar. On top of that, the other shift line that you have is Robin Hood. So you're able to banish opposing characters and you gain 2 lore. But on top of that, when it's banished in a challenge, you also gain 1 card draw. You have cards such as Pete in order to stop opposing players from playing actions until the start of your next turn. So really good for protecting your Jafar. That way they're not targeted. They are evasive, but if there's cards such as B-Prep or Zeus, those are able to get rid of Jafar. So make sure that you plan your Petes at the you play them at the appropriate time. You have a total of 7 targets to shift the big Jafar onto. You have the 2-cost Jafar, which gains evasive during your turn. But you also have the new Jafar from set 7, which is a 3/2 quest for 2. But when you play them, a chosen character gains Challenger this turn. So perfect for giving cards such as your Diablo, Chernadog Bugs, mainly Diablo really, giving them Challenger +2. One other card that cost me a game was Giant Cobra. Whenever you play this character, you can choose and discard a card, and you gain 2 lore. My opponent played 2 Giant Cobras in one turn to gain a total of 4 lore, which pushed them over the 20 goal, and that's how they were able to win. I'm sorry, I miscounted. I said we had 3 Amethyst steel. I meant we have 2 lists. This is the other version. It's more of a bounce list. So you have your typical 1-drops. You have a total of 10, which is Chernabog's, Diablo, and Magic Broom. But then on top of that, you have a total of 8 bounce cards using the Meta Mim package. But another option for turn 2 is Calhoun, which has a similar effect as the Shift Robin Hood, which is during your turn, whenever this character banishes another character in a challenge, you gain 2 lore. But they also have resist 1. So technically, they have 3 health, or they need to take 3 damage in a single hit in order to be banished immediately. Then we also have Mr. Smee, which is just, one of the greatest cards in the game. But yeah, pretty self-explanatory. It's been around for a while. Really good card. Now getting on to the Merlin package, we have Merlin Crab, Merlin Goat, and Merlin Rabbit. So this list opts for no genies and focusing more on the Merlins. But we also have the White Rose, which on play gains you 1 lore. But we also have Pete. So pretty straightforward, stopping your opponent from playing actions for a turn. And you also have Elsa. So this pairs perfectly with removing or exerting a character and being able to remove them. Really good for cards that are not exerted pretty often, such as if you're playing a mirror match, your opponent is not going to want to quest with their Calhoun really unless they really need to. So being able to exert them with the Elsa and probably swinging with something else or powering it up with a crab, really good way of removing it. But on top of that, you have a total of 12 songs. So you have 4 friends on the other side to draw some more cards. But you also have 2 damage dealing songs. You have Strength of Raging Fire, and then Along Came Zeus. So perfect for getting rid of those big threats. All right, so now we have a pretty interesting deck. It's called Bend to My Cow. So it's a combination of Bend to My Will with Clarabelle. So the goal of this deck is to basically clear out your opponent from being able to have any cards in their hand. So what you can do, and keep in mind, Bend to My Will is an action. It's not a song. I always thought it was a song for some reason, but it's not. But you are able to draw a lot of cards with Clarabelle at the end of your turn. Basically draw up to the number of cards that your opponent has if you have less cards than them in your hand. And then possibly the next turn, sing Bend to My Will to discard your opponent's entire hand. So then that way you have a lot of cards, but your opponent has nothing. You also have some ramps in here. So you have Tipo and Sail the Azurite Sea, as well as How Far I'll Go. So you have a total of 12 ramp options. Really good because this pairs up with the Sapphire Bell, which during your turn, you may ink an additional card. But on top of that, if you have 10 or more cards in your inkwell, this character gains +4 lore. So they're able to quest for 5. This pairs perfectly with Lucky Dime. You have 2 copies of that in this deck. So really good for getting 10 lore in a single turn. On top of that, you have the Muses to be able to bounce characters. So if you see some characters such as Cinderella or Ariel or other cards specifically against Steel Song and decks that have some weaker characters, you can sing some songs, bounce characters back to their hand. It also helps for getting Clarabelle back into your hand or saving your own bell from getting banished. On top of that, we have some card draw. We have Grammatala and Tamatoa. So pretty good at cycling back your items and playing items for free as well. and Grammatologist being able to look at 2 cards, putting one at the bottom, one into your hand. But yeah, on top of that, we have a few more songs. We have Heffalumps and Woozles, which you choose an opposing character. They cannot quest during their next turn, and you draw a card. We also have Strike a Good Match. You draw 2 cards, then choose and discard a card. And finally, we have You're Welcome. So shuffle chosen character, item, or location into their player's deck. That player draws 2 cards. One more item that I failed to mention is Sapphire Coil. So anytime that you put a card into your inkwell, you choose a character and they get -2 strength. So that pairs really well with the Muses being able to bring opposing characters down to 2 strength or less. That way you can just bounce them back to hand with the Muses. Up next, we have Emerald Steel Discard. So Bucky may have gotten an errata, but this deck has a lot of potential, especially with the Hiram ban. It is very strong. So basically, we're playing the typical Diablo package. So you have the 1-cost Diablo, which you play it, and your opponent reveals their hand, which leads perfectly into the 2-cost Ursula Deceiver. So if you know your opponent has some ramp coming up, actually no, it's song, not actions. If they are playing 1 jump ahead for some reason, then you can play Ursula. But on top of that, you're also able to play Morph instead on turn 2. So perfect card because it gives you a lot of shift targets. You're able to shift into Beast or Pete. They're playing the 6-cost Pete pirate that they added in set 7. But we'll get to that in a bit. You also have Prince John, which is perfect for like anytime your opponent discards a card, you draw a card. You also have the 3-cost Ursula Deceiver of All. So basically you can sing songs twice, which is the case for all but one of the songs that you have in here. So you can sing Sudden Chill, Let the Storm Rage On, or Strength of a Raging Fire. Sing it twice, and then instead of it going into your discard, it goes to the bottom of your deck. So you are able to see them later on if you, for some reason, like draw that many cards. I know if you're playing against Steel Song and you have Diablo Exerted, you could probably get a lot of cards if you have Diablo and also Prince John. You have Pete, which is pretty standard for almost every Steel deck, being able to stop actions from being played. You do have the Muses to be able to bounce some characters. You have Pluto, which is a pretty strong bodyguard. It's a 5/5 when it has no damage, but when it does take damage, then it does get reduced to a 1/5. Another draw card that you have here is Beast, Tragic Hero, which has 2 effects. You either draw a card if this character has no damage. If they do have damage, they get +4 strength, so they become a 7/5, which is really strong. But let's get into the really interesting card, which is Pete Space Pirate. It's a 5/5, shift for 4, quest for 2. It has the ability Frightful Scheme. While this character is exerted, opposing characters can't exert to sing songs, and your pirate characters gain resist +1. Now, you don't really have any other pirates. I'm taking a look right here, and yeah, we don't have any other pirates in this deck, unless I'm like failing to see something. But they do get resist. Since they are a pirate, it doesn't say your other pirate characters, so they themselves do get resist. So not even a Zeus will be able to take them out instantly. They have to take 2 damage to take 1 damage, and then you could Zeus them. But other than that, the only other thing that removes them are just mass removal cards or a straight up targeted removal card. On top of that, you do have Hypnotize, which your opponent chooses and discard a card, then you draw a card, and then you do have the 3 locations, which are the Hidden Cove. Basically gives all your characters that are here +1 strength and +1 willpower. Perfect for pairing it up with Diablo. That way it becomes a 3/3. So a storm will not kill it. They cannot be targeted by the big Sisu. So it becomes a little bit more difficult to remove them. So yeah, that provides a little bit of extra protection for some of your characters. Up next, we have old reliable Ruby Amethyst. There are two ways of going around this deck, but both of them seem to be leaning a bit more into evasive cards. Um, and specifically pairing it up with the Peter Pan Shadow Finder, which gives all of your evasive characters rush. That pairs up perfectly with Maui Half Shark because then you could challenge immediately right when you play them, be able to get some of your items, or sorry, some of your actions back into your hand. But let's start off from the beginning. We have a total of 12 one-drops. We have the entire Chernabog Diablo Magic Broom package. The interesting card here is the 2-drop Lumiere, which gives all your other characters +1 strength. So your Chernabogs now becomes a 3 attack character, which is really strong. And it protects some of your cards from being wiped with cards such as Sisu. Basically, your Peter Pan and your Genie and your Elsa can all go from being 2 strength to 3 strength characters, which does protect them from the big Sisu. On top of that, we do have the Madame Mim Merlin package. Well, here, the only Merlin that we're running is Merlin Crab. There is no Merlin Goat, no Merlin Rabbit. They decided to go with Genie instead for the draw engine. But on top of that, you do have the Iago, which also has evasive. By the way, Genie does have evasive as well. You have Lady Tremaine, so especially after a big board wipe, because you do run 3 Be Prepareds. If your opponent only plays a single card, then you could play Lady Tremaine to get rid of it right away. On top of that, you have 7 actions. You have 3 copies of Brawl, 3 copies of Finders Keepers, and 1 Dragonfire. You have a total of 10 songs, so you have 4 friends on the other side. You have a lot of characters to be able to sing it with. You have Madame Mim, Merlin Crab, Peter Pan, and then all of the characters with higher cost than that. You have 3 Pirate's Life, so perfect for being able to cycle it back with Maui Half Shark. And then you also have 3 copies of Be Prepared, so being able to wipe the entire board. You also have 4 locations. You have 2 copies of the library and 2 copies of the Queen Castle. I have seen some people swap it for 4 libraries or 4 Queen's Castles. That's mainly up to you. Personally, I think I prefer the library. I feel that 1 extra willpower does help it a lot. It protects it from a Maui Half Shark. And then, yeah, it's just, I believe that 1 extra willpower helps a lot. And then also your characters, once they're removed there, they draw, like you draw, as opposed to the Queen's Castle, although it does give you 2 lore. It needs to survive until the start of the turn. And I mean, your characters need to survive until the start of the next turn in order to be able to draw for each one that you have there. All right, now this next Ruby Amethyst list is a bit different. It still has quite a bit of evasive cards, but not as much. This one focuses a bit more on removal. So you're only running 8 one-drops, so you're running Diablos and Chernabogs. You also have the Madame Mim Snake, and you have Pegasus as an option, which is a 3/1 evasive card. On top of that, you do have Queen of Hearts, which is a 1/4, but when they have damage, they become a 4/4, and they quest for 1. You have 3 copies of Merlin Crab and Peter Pan Shadow Finder. But here you are also running the Sisu package. So you have 3 Sisu Emboldened Warriors, which get 1 strength for each card in your opponent's hand. Here they are running the Merlin Rabbit package as opposed to the Genie package. They also have Maui Hero to All on top of the Half Sharks. So you have that instant rush and reckless, being able to play it for 5 and immediately swing, get rid of some of those bigger threats. You still have Lady Tremaine, but on top of that, you have the big Sisu. So being able to do a mass board wipe for all those characters that are 2 strength or less is really helpful. You're running quite a few less actions than here. You're only running 4. You have 2 Brawls and 2 Finders Keepers. But getting into the songs, we have a total of 8. You have 4 Friends on the Other Side, 2 Pirate's Life, and 2 Be Prepared. This list is only running 2 copies of the library, but the one interesting card here is Maui's Fishhook. Now, I did talk about the effect a little bit earlier, but just to refresh, you exert it, you pay 2 ink, and you either give a character evasive until the start of your next turn, or chosen character gets +3 strength this turn. Now, it does have another effect, which is if you have a character named Maui in play, you may use one of these abilities for free. So you have a total of 7 Maui cards in here. So you don't need to choose these effects on Maui. You could use it on any character on your board as long as you have Maui. And it is like these effects don't even need to be on your characters. You could choose it on an opposing character. So for example, you could give a character with bodyguard evasive. And if you don't have any evasive characters, then you can basically avoid challenging that. You can challenge like another character, or you could give an opposing character +3 strength, which I don't really know why you would do that, but you can. I don't see a reason why you would, but yeah. Moving on, we have Ruby Sapphire Control. We have 2 lists for this video. Both of them are pretty similar, but have a few slight differences. The first one is going to be the DKP list. So here is a very, very consistent list. Most of the cards here are 4 ofs, with a few exceptions, such as Sisu, Brawl, and Let It Go. That's literally it. But here, really, really straightforward list. Turn 1, you have 2 options. You either have Develop Your Brain to look at 2 cards, put one at the bottom of your deck, one into your hand, or Popsicle to be able to just straight up draw. Good item for Tamatoa later on. Turn 2, you have Tipo and Sail for your ramp, or if you really need to look for a specific card, you do have Vision of the Future. Assuming you do ramp, turn 3, you are able to play Grammatala, or How Far I'll Go to ramp even more, or if needed, you can play McDuck Manor. If you are playing against aggro lists, you do have the option of 2 brawls, and I believe 2 is a really good number because you do have 4 copies of Half Shark, so if you do need to get them back later on, you can grab them from your discard. Turn 4, I'm basically assuming that you are ramping here. Turn 4, you're able to play Maui Hero to All. And if your opponent has a location, it really doesn't matter which location it is. You can swing with Grammatala and Maui to get rid of it. Now, you do have Tamatoa to be able to grab your Popsicles back and play them and just keep cycling that. Or you have Maui Half Shark to be able to set that up. Big threat that your opponent is going to want to get rid of, or they won't be exerting their characters. That way you don't challenge them. On top of that, we do have Sisu Empowered Sibling. We are not running the little Sisu. Basically, the reasoning behind that is that Sisu was really good into the mirror match, getting rid of Hiram. But now that Hiram is gone, there's not that much need to focus on that little Sisu. It really holds you back, and we are really able to cut down on the uninkables. As you can see, this list only runs 11 uninkables, so that's a really good number. We have 3 copies of Let It Go, so really good for getting rid of threats and making it so your opponent cannot really get them back. We have 4 copies of Pirate's Life and 4 copies of Be Prepared. And also, one thing to note, McDuck Manor is really good in some situations. Specifically, after you wipe the board, you could even like wipe the board with Big Sisu. Just use Big Sisu to sing it, slam down 2, maybe even 3 McDuck Manors. I did that against a Amethyst Steel deck. It was not the Jafar list, but I played Be Prepared. Next turn, I smacked down 3 Manors, and they just could not do anything about it. It was like nearly impossible for them to get rid of it. But very consistent list. Let's go on into the next Ruby Sapphire list. Okay, now this is the Ruby Sapphire list that I used in set champs. So it's different from the DKP list. There's a few differences, but let's get on into it. So for the most part, we have the same game plan. Um, but there are a few differences. So I cut down on the numbers of Be Prepared's Pirate's Life, Let It Go, to be able to put in some other cards. So we have 2 copies of Cusco, which when you play this character, you may put chosen item or location into their player's inkwell. And the other ability isn't used as much, but you can pay 4 ink. Your other characters gain resist +1 until the start of your next turn. Now, this isn't a one-time use thing. If you have like 12 ink, you could use it, and then your characters gain resist +3, which would make them like really, really strong. Um, but this is really good into the mirror match, or if you're playing against decks that have the library. Basically, you want to get rid of your opponent's board, but you don't want to risk them drawing cards. You can play Cusco to get rid of the library, and then maybe later on slam Be Prepared or Sisu if it's just a bunch of little characters. We still have the Tamatoas, but one other card that we got in here is Scar Vicious Cheater. So it acts like a Maui. It has Rush, but during your turn, whenever this character banishes another character in a challenge, you may ready this character. They can't quest for the rest of the turn. So basically, if they have a lot of characters on the board, you can just keep swinging. And if you have your popsicles on the field, you can keep healing him. That way he doesn't get banished. And if he stays for another turn, you're able to quest for 2. So really, really good and powerful card. I definitely was able to use it a couple times, and it definitely helped me clear out some boards. So some other interesting cards that we have in here is Maui's Fishhook. So we already went over this, but basically, again, you can give a chosen character evasive, or you can give a chosen character +3 strength. And then the one MVP of this list, by far the strongest card in this list, is Merlin's Carpet Bag. Especially if you're able to quest with Tamatoa and play it for free, this card is so powerful. Specifically, I want to go over the mirror match. If you're playing another Ruby Sapphire list, this card, if you draw into it and you're able to play it, it increases your odds of winning tenfold. Basically, you exert it, you pay 1 ink, return an item card from your discard to your hand. So if you run this card, I suggest you abuse using this card. Just use it over and over and over again. Banish one of your popsicles, even if it's just for no reason. Exert it, pay 1 ink, play popsicle. You are able to draw so many cards with this carpet bag. It's just really, really strong. But yeah, let's get on to the final list. Finally, our last deck for this video is going to be by Harlan Sweetie. I believe this is known as Kiwi. The Kiwi Sapphire Steel. So just to go over this deck, we are running a total of 8 1-drop characters. We're running Happy, which is a 2/1 Knight character. During your turn, this character gains evasive, so really good for dealing with those Diablos or any other evasive characters that your opponent might have. You also have Robin Hood. You are running the shift line, so gaining that 2 lore. Then turn 2, you're also able to play Calhoun or Mr. Smee. Doc is there for whenever you need card draw. Usually when your hand is near empty, you can play this character, discard your hand, draw 2 cards. Usually if it's the last card in your hand, you just play it. That way you draw 2 cards and you don't have to discard anything. We do have the Alice Savvy Sailor card, which is a 1/4 character with Ward, quest for 2. And whenever this character quests, another chosen character of yours gets +1 lore and gains ward until the start of your next turn. So really good. You're able to target any of your characters, give them ward. That way they're not targeted. One interesting card, also a 3-drop, is the John Silver Ship's Cook card, which when you play this character, chosen character can't challenge during the next turn. Really good for targeting those Maui half sharks. That way they are not able to take advantage of their effect. So you're at liberty to just quest with your characters, possibly for 1 turn. Then we have 4 copies of Pete. We have 2 copies of Scrooge McDuck. It's a 5/5 quest for 2, so pretty big body. We're running 4 copies of Pluto. So that bodyguard 5/5 goes to a 1/5 whenever it takes damage. However, you are able to use Baymax to heal your characters. When you play this character and whenever he quests, you may remove up to 2 damage from another chosen character of yours. Gain 1 lore for each damage removed this way. So really good, helps you get some lore. So really pairs well with any characters that possibly you use to challenge and then you just want to heal them up. Next up, we got Cogsworth. So gives all of your characters resist +1. They themselves have ward, so they're not able to be targeted. And then quest for 2, so really strong card. One interesting card here is 4 copies of the Gantu from set 6. It's a vanilla card, 4/5, but a quest for 4, so really big quester. Next up, we have 4 copies of Strength of a Raging Fire, so really good for removing some of your opponent's board. Finally, getting into the locations, we have a total of 6 locations. We're running 3 Mythic Manors, but on top of that, we're running 7 Dwarves Mine, which costs 2 to move characters here, 6 willpower. During your turn, the first time you move a character here, you may deal 1 damage to chosen character. However, if the character that was moved there is a knight, you deal 2 damage instead. So that pairs perfectly with Happy and Doc. I don't believe we have any more knights, but yeah, it pairs really well with Happy and Doc. You move them there, you deal 2 damage to an opposing character. Really good for targeting Diablos, Cinderellas, Mr. Smees if they have damage, possibly a Robin Hood before they're able to shift, or stuff such as Pluto or Lawrence's, deal some damage. That way they're no longer at their full strength. They get reduced. But yeah. Alright guys, but that's basically going to be it for this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please make sure to leave a like down below. Please make sure to let me know what decks you're going to be playing in your set championships. Do you have any plans? Just to reiterate, I played Steel Song in one of my set champs because I knew that the meta there was going to be aggro, and I was able to get to the finals, but I got paired against Ruby, Sapphire, and did lose that. In the second one, I played Ruby Sapphire. I made it to top cut, but I lost to the Amethyst Steel Jafar deck. It was a really tough matchup, and no matter how many times I was able to remove their board, Giant Cobra was able to come through for them. The Lamp being able to draw the Jafar some more cards and pushing them over that 20 lore. It was pretty difficult to play into. But yeah, that's basically going to be it for this video. Like I said at the beginning, if I did leave out any decks, please make sure to leave that down below in the comments. Let me know. Make sure other people know about those decks. That way they could check them out. But that's basically going to be it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please make sure to leave a like. Please make sure to become a color by hitting that subscribe button. And also hit that notification bell so you're notified whenever I upload a new video. And until next time, I'm Rojo Inc. And I'll see you all in the next video. Adios.